All right, I just finished a podcast with chef and owner of Don Sanchez Restaurant, located here in the Art District of San Jose, Edgar Román. We talk about his experience and the restaurant scene in Los Cabos, how it's evolved over 20 years. You're really going to like this one. Take a listen. We're good? Okay, cool. Well, Edgar, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too, Nick.
Thank you for inviting me and my team to Don Sanchez Restaurant. And this restaurant is relatively new in its location.
Exactly. We have the brand almost 10 years ago, but in a different location. So right now, it's our third season that we start here in this new location.
And Don Sanchez, what is the history? You said 10 years ago?
Exactly. Well, at the beginning, we're like two Canadians who start with the project of a fun cantina. And then they, started the need in the market to have like more fine dining restaurants in the local town. So they decided to change the concept a little bit, to twist it a little bit. Instead of the fun cantina, go a little bit more serious about the Mexican food. So they start with some of the colleagues, and then in 2019, I take over the place, but as a partner, to run all the show and to actually focus on Mexican flavors, but with the contemporary perspective. And so pandemics happen, and then we're here in this new location. The history is like brief because, I could tell you like a lot of small details about the past, but I think the most important thing is what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Our proposal is based, of course, in Cabo, but not only Cabo, actually all South Baja. Because when you said Baja, the people are thinking sometimes in, the Mediterranean ambience, in the Valle de Guadalupe, the wineries and everything, but we are not related with that. We're actually the desert. We're actually a state, the newest state in the country. And just like happened in any other new countries, the immigrants, and we need to consider ourselves immigrants because we don't born and raised here. But we came here and we're actually part of the community, and we built this destination in what it's now, right? So I think we try to represent that, the flexibility and the hospitality of this destination, which is amazing. It's beautiful. The people here is, so warm and welcoming. So we decide to build this restaurant, taking only, the hands of the builders, constructors, and also artisans, and the people who make the craft with everything, just like the chairs, the wood of the tables, right. The palapas, of course, make it in the very old way, in the very old style. The lamps, every single detail that you see around, it's made and designed or constructed by Cabo, people from Cabo. And we try to focus in especially the people who actually are born and raised here in South Baja.
Edgar, where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Mexico City. I've been traveling over 30 years all around the world, and I've been here for 21 years. So right now, I've been more years out of my natural born place than any other place. And the place that I, actually been living more time in my whole life is here in Cabo. So I consider myself a chollero, honestly. I when I travel and I'm outside whatever I am, and when they ask, oh, where are you come from? Oh, from Cabo, Mexico. It is, my daughter arrived here when she was like not even a 2 years. So because 2 years old, we celebrate here. So everything, it's, joy and nice memories from Cabo. So here is, my place, my town.
And your profession is, you're a chef.
Exactly. I'm a chef.
And before coming to Los Cabos, were you a chef in Mexico City?
Well, I've been a chef in a lot of different parts. I started, of course, in Mexico City. I take in my first steps the line of the private diners. I mean, like the big banks, they have a private commodores for the executives and that kind of people. So I start working for these people. So I'm being very aligned with the high and top quality of everything, with the best ingredients, not only from Mexico, from all around the world. I'm very used to bring food from whatever it takes. If they want in jabujo, I have to take it,
What was that?
Oh, the jabujo is the serrano, the cured ham,
Okay.
the leg of the cured ham that you normally have in Spain, and it's, for the certification and the denomination of the origin, it's from Spain. So I need to bring it in those days to Mexico, flew it, in any way to have it for these people. That's just one example of whatever, it was foie gras or truffles or whatever. It must be done that way. So my whole life, I've been used to find a way to get everything. So when I arrived to Baja, it was like, those skills, helped me a lot.
Because it's like in an island here, trying to get ingredients.
Exactly. Especially in the old days.
Right.
Especially 20 years ago, it was like nothing. But you can get everything for the right price.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons that most of the people need to understand why Cabo, it's a little bit more expensive than any other city in the country, right? Because everything is imported. Right? Now, the organics are from here, and now it's easier to get, the beautiful catches from the Pacific or the Sea of Cortez Ocean. In the old times, that was all the product go for the exportation.
Yeah.
Everything, organics, vegetables, whatever, and all the seafood. Right now, and we're used to have it back, with the second pricing, getting back from same Baja, the oysters, whatever, just flew it 2 times, but with the taxes of everything. So I start getting all the connections, all the relations, and getting all the products fresher and local.
I worked in the kitchen, like a pizza place growing up. That was like one of my first jobs. And so I know a little bit about working in a kitchen, probably more watching those TV shows, right? And Top Chef and things like that.
Exactly.
What I learned is, as a chef, you're very resourceful. You have very limited time and resources, and you have to invent on the fly.
That's right.
And so what you explain in the early days of the Baja, you were having to do that.
I mean, it was from taking myself into stir and fix the palapa, because if I need to wait to the palapero, it could take like 15 days, and you have a hole in it. So, you need to figure out in those days for everything. Every single detail, you need to take care of it. So if you're not a hands-on guy, for sure, you won't be very comfortable living here in Cabo, right? So in my case, I'm the kind of guy that eat the whole plate of everything. So I'm very ambitious all the time. So that's why I run the restaurant. I'm the manager. I'm the guy who goes the shopping, and because it's part of the things that I love to do, because I'm so perfectionist that I want to see every single detail of my business. And I always been like that. So in those days, that helped me a lot.
So even today, you're involved in all those aspects.
Everything.
Purchasing.
Yeah, I just arrived with all the packages of different things from Costco and some of the stuff from the cristaleria and gadgets and stuff that we need, and the waiters and everything. Because I think the only way, if you want to have quality, it's to watch it by yourself. Yep. Thank God we live in a place that you can actually handle with it. Of course, we have suppliers and we have connections, whatever, but there are some things that it's better if you take it by your own hands.
Mm, very nice. How have you seen over the last 20 years the restaurant scene change in Los Cabos?
Well, it's interesting because when I arrived, I found not that many places, of course, but good quality all the time, especially in seafood and steaks, and beef. because the customers wants that, right? But they don't have in those days like too much necessity of being more selective about the seafood, Oh, where's catch? I remember in those days when the people said, oh, Cabo is the sea bass place because everyone only have sea bass, right? And we're living in the aquarium of the world, said by Jacques Cousteau, right? 20 years ago. So it's interesting that when I arrive and I'm very used to handle a lot of different fish and seafood style and different kinds. And when I arrive here and I see, okay, we have a lot of different species, why don't use it? So I start to do it, and I think that's why a lot of my pupils that now they're chefs in some other places, we were like 5 or 6 chefs that we start doing different things with the same product, and we start doing things not only with the sport fishing species like tuna and mahi-mahi. Now it's forbidden, except for the tuna, but the mahi-mahi is not allowed to sell it, just like any kind of kudo. No, you cannot.
And it's because
it's because it's a sport fishing catch.
Okay.
So, and it's very reasonable. First, yes, the mahi-mahi, they can grow a lot and they're, you can find in the season a lot of mahi-mahi, but we're in a sport fishing destination. So if you take it and you want to serve just in a restaurant of 120 people, just like my restaurant, just imagine the amount of fish that I need to have. So we're not going to leave, get left in the ocean for the sport fishing guys, right? So it's about conscience. It's about being part of the business that everybody are involved here in Baja, right? And of course, take care of the species, not depredate it. Same thing with the tuna, and especially with the marlins, right? All the picudos, all the short kind of fish, it is not allowed to sell it in any restaurant in South Baja.
So aside from the standard steak and seafood type of cuisine, what are some of the types of cuisines that you've seen emerge over the last 2 decades?
Of course, well, there's always been an influence of Asian food here in Baja because 100 years ago, Lanao from China, one of the stops were La Paz. So there's a lot of families that are actually like 10 generations, living here in Baja.
I heard there's a Fong's family in La Paz.
And it's Lee and Lex and Chong. Uh-huh. So there's a lot of Chinese families and Ung Song. So and these people, of course, keeps their traditions. They're very happy with all the fresh seafood that we have here. So they don't need to, renounce about that because they can keep it doing it. And of course, that influence the cuisine in South Baja. We need to actually, and I said it in a brief exposition or conference that I just did in Ronneval, by the way. No, I talk about the history of the gastronomy in Baja and South Baja, and it's fun because at the beginning it was the nomads, then the missioners, and then the immigrants from Mexico, and then with the winery and everything, the immigrants from Europe, especially because of bindings, France and England. So just imagine the influence of everything that we have here. So Baja, you cannot say the same thing in, Oaxaca, right? We don't have the same kind of roots. But the roots that we have here are very solid also. And it's about immigration. It's about the influence of what we get left from the Italians, maybe in the missions, like the sopa fresca with a tagliatelle with a spicy sauce, not without tomatoes, something very particular. And I think la sopa fresca, it's one of the most significant or the most representative dish from South Baja, or the sashimi. Right now, there's a contest of sashimi, very important in the destination, because every single fisherman, at least since over 30 years that I know, and I've been traveling here, every single time that you catch a fish, they know exactly how to make you a sashimi. It doesn't matter if they're, related with Asians or not.
Yep.
They know how to do it because it's part of the things that we heard from all the immigrants, right? So I think the develop and the growing of South Baja cuisine is related with that. It's related with amazing ingredients. The organic farms, it starts with something very, humble and not with a lot of different kinds of vegetables.
Right.
But 30 years ago, when surfers start coming down to San Pedrito and Pescadero, they start bringing seeds with them and planted organic from, I don't know, California and some other things. And now we have amazing product, organics, that now we export, right? And same thing happened with the mango. We have the season of the mango. It's a lot of mango everywhere, in July.
Yep.
Actually, we have a special event the whole month made with mango. And that happens 36 years when the Autónoma University of Mexico go to Santiago and they start making a special project, planting 30 or 40 different kinds of mango. And now we have like 5 very now like authentic kinds of mango from here, from Baja. And that spreads to Pescadero, to Todos Santos, and now we have tons of mango everywhere, right?
How has the restaurant industry grown along with the tourism?
Well, that's interesting also because when we started, at least when I started 20 years ago, it was like, the elders, the people who are, they want to come down and have this amazing trip, high end always, all the time. And they start seeing like, okay, we came here for vacation like 2 or 3 times a year and we want to stay. And then they decide to buy some land here. And then you have the opportunity to start with the grandfather, then the father and the sons.
Yeah.
And the sons right now, and at least in my case, are guys from over the 30s.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, the tendency everywhere goes in different directions, right? I remember when I only can have in my cellar maybe 1 or 2 bottles of real Mexican wine that 20 years ago, it was not that good. But the 90% of Napa Valley options and all goes for sale. Right now, I have 65% of Mexican wines.
Wow.
And they are looking for it, because they want different experience. And the reason I mentioned this about the wine, it's exactly that, the develop between the grandfather who wants just the Camus, right? This very bold and strong wine. And then they, of course, teach the son, and the son starts going to Europe and drinking different things,
right,
and traveling. Same thing happened with other ones. And now all the families are involved in the wine thing, right?
Yeah.
And now the palates of these guys are very well trained. They demand something different. They want to make the experiment with Mexican wines, good Mexican wines, or French, or Italian, or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
It goes with the food. That's why I think that happened exactly the same, but I think it's shorter to explain it with wine, because if I try to do it with food, I'm going to be like all around the world trying to bring something on the table. So I think that's a very good example, how exactly the things go. Right now I don't like to say fusion restaurants, but the restaurants with authentic productions. I mean, with something focused, like if you're Asian, and maybe with some twist of Mexican flavors. Or in my case, I take the very old techniques from Europe, to make the food, but I use it for preserve, not to cook. For example, the sous vide, it's a very popular. If you like the food channels, you're always going to be like the bags going to the water, running around and cooking for 48 hours and that. Okay, we do have that in Mexico roots, but in the old way, right? In the wood ovens, overnight, slow cooking, but with the old techniques. And then I use the sous vide just to reconstitute and to preserve, just like if you're taking out from the oven. And that's the kind of things that I'm not the only one doing that. I think that's the tendency right now.
Yep.
Recover the true flavor of the things and the respect of the ingredients. And that's exactly the point that we are right now. I think all the customers are looking for healthy food, not too much treated with a lot of things and a lot of techniques. I mean, like 20 different processes for just one lettuce, right? Or one carrot. It's just like, leave it like that and then do something really nice and good to the meat, for example, to make it tender and preserve the collagen and all the things that are good in the meat, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what we're doing right now, I think, here in Baja.
Isn't it that it's interesting how chefs are artists, right? Because you're creative, you're coming up with new ways to spin an old concept. You're looking to fuse different cultures and traditions, try to make something old new. And so for Don Sanchez, how is Don Sanchez different from the others?
Well, I think we're very focused on Mexican flavors. Yes, we use the technique just like I told you right now, but we try to keep the true flavors of Mexican flair. I mean, the barbacoa, and I made a brisket, and the people came and they say, I put it in a piece instead of a shredded, just like normally goes with the barbacoa. But I made exactly the same process. I make the adobo, but everything with natural ingredients. I try to avoid all the time. I don't use chemical stuff or anything like that.
Right.
I prefer to go with patience and do the things slow in my wood oven. And then I have another charcoal oven inside that goes into 750 Fahrenheit. So it's a lot of hot. So I use that just to make like a chart something and would keep all the juices. So in trying to do it in a compact way, I go for sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
And the sustainability, I think that involves everything. Because if you want to be sustainable, you need to be grateful with the ingredient. So you need to respect it. Right. Doesn't matter if it's vegetables, seafood, or something from the farm. And you need to keep it moist and juicy and tender so the people actually are enjoying what they're going to have. Same thing with the vegetables. We're very, we have a lot of knowledge about vegetables. I love to cook with vegetables. And I think that is one of our biggest seals, and something that the people actually recognize on Don Sanchez right now. A third of our menu is made only with vegetables.
Really?
And I'm not vegan or vegetarian. I just love to cook with vegetables. When I start going to the organic farms and I start eating, just taking away the dirt and taking a bite of the carrot and some of the things, I say like, okay, this is not the regular carrot. This is not the regular beets. This is not the regular vegetable that we normally get every other where. So I start cooking with them, and it started 20 years ago. It was like the people said like, why you have like that many? And I mean, that was like only 5 dishes on my menu with vegetables.
Yeah.
And the people said, why there's so many vegetable
dishes? Yeah. Do you have vegetarians in your family?
No, I don't. I just love to cook with it and respect it just like I do with any other kind of protein. So right now, we are proud to serve to vegans, and they're actually enjoying the food here because I do exactly the same complexity in techniques and flavors and combinations, just like I do with the fish or the shrimps or the beef or the lamb or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, for us it's a challenge, we develop a butter made with cashews and coconut oil,
So wait, cashews and coconut oil.
Exactly.
You make your own butter.
Exactly. We made a butter because the cashews taste like dairy. When you put it in water and overhydrate it and then you blend it, it gets like cream. Just like that, you can just taste it with a pinch of salt and it's going to taste like cream. it's easy, for the people. I don't hide anything, right? Then we start thinking, okay, how we can make a butter with this? Because if a vegan come and we want the full experience for them, how they can get a butter, because we have a special thing in the service. We smoke the butter. We make our own butter. That's why it looks white, not yellow, like like the process.
Because it's natural.
Exactly, because it's natural. We get the fat and we whip it, and we have the butter, and then we made another one with mushrooms, and we smoke it with rosemary.
Right, you infuse the butter with mushrooms?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. So we serve that as a part of the deal with the bread, and then we need to do something for the vegans. So we start doing technique, ideas how to make butter, because yes, we have the creamy part with the cashews, but we need the fat.
Mm-hmm.
Then we just say, okay, if it tastes like coconut, it's not going to be nice. So we found this, a coconut they just take off the flavor of coconut. It's still the fat, still the oil. So we froze it, and then when it's very cold, we blend it with the cashews, and then we have it not freeze, but very cold.
Yeah.
And then you have the butter, So that's the kind of things that we love to do, create something with probably something that no one imagined that we can do something.
Tell me about some other unique dishes that you have on the menu.
We have something very, very old in the Mexican tradition, but there's not many people having it right now. So it's something old that I bring it to the present, and I serve it in a rustic way, but in a newest presentation. So it is this, the pork shank. Pork in Mexico is super important. It's, I think, the most demanded protein in Mexico. Now is the chicken, but in the old days was the pork. So the shank has a lot of, not the fat, it's collagen. And the collagen mix it with the normal fat that you can find in the shank, you will get a very juicy and tender product. So I make like a barbacoa, but the full piece of the shank, and then I roast it in the 750 centigrade oven, so it gets the smoky part with all the juices that I save with the barbacoa, and then I put it in a tomato sauce, a green tomato sauce with it's spring sprouts, verdolagas, we call it. It's like sweet, sour and salty flavor. It grows normally around the milpa, and here in the organic farms, there is a lot of it. Yeah, it's a little bit funny, and it's sour and salty. It's very tasty. So when you blend it with all of that and or bread and everything, or tortillas and make your own taquitos, it's, believe me, something that most of the people that they already know it. I cannot take it out from the menu. The people just come back and say, okay, let's have the new things, but
don't forget about that.
Exactly. The brisket, it's one of the other seals that I already told you, the barbacoa, the beef barbacoa, but made with the typical things from here. Of course, now I bring something very special. The mole in Mexico, it's something very serious. Almost every state in Mexico have their own kind of mole.
For those that don't know what mole is.
Okay, mole. The word itself means sauce made with chiles, okay? With peppers.
Okay.
Sauce made with hot peppers.
All right.
Or chiles. So every sauce could be a mole. But if you go a little bit deeper in the description where our ancestors actually refer about the mole, it's a sauce made with peppers, hot peppers, but added or enriched with seeds and spices. The mole, the actual mole that we know and it's like popular in all around the world, in some of the countries, especially in the US, they say, oh, the chocolate and spicy sauce, right? The black ones. Well, that it's the version that comes with the colonization of the Spanish. It makes the blend of both cultures, right? All the spices that came from India and all the cattle, and blended with the spices and the peppers and the cacao. Then everything together became that kind of mole. So normally goes with tortilla and seeds like cacahuate, peanuts and nuts. Depends on the recipe, and at least 36 ingredients in the traditional, most famous mole. So it's very traditional, it's very popular, and in my opinion, it's overrated right now because we have more tradition behind the mole. So I went deeper in my investigation about the mole, and I found an ancestral, an ancient mole. Like before the colonization of the Spanish, of course, there was not pork fat. There was not seeds like the nuts, some kind of nuts exist, but not the flour, not the wheat. So in this case, all the seeds and the spices and the peppers are the only things that goes with the mole, and not chocolate itself, because there's no milk and no sugar on that. There was another things to it was just the cacao. So and black peppers. So I bring this mole from the high hills from Oaxaca and La Sierra, and this lady makes only with fresh products that she dehydrates under the sun, and then they make the mix in the blend.
So you went to Oaxaca and found
Yes,
the recipe and bring it back here? Or?
No. One of the most important things when you're talking about this specific ingredients, because now this paste became an ingredient. If I try to reproduce it here, just with the trip of the peppers and the seeds and the plants that she used, it's going to be spoiled. I cannot reproduce the same flavors because all the trip is going to spoil the flavor of each ingredient to make the mole. So in respect of the true flavor of that mole, I pay her a right price, and that's part of the sustainability. You need to respect what the people with the tradition are doing it. Just like the flour tortillas. Yes, I can do myself the flour tortilla here. But what happened with the tradition? What happened with the old people that actually still doing the things in the old way? And why you need to industrialize and buy products from any company that are taking these small families, family business going down. So what I did, for example, with the flour tortillas, I bought it directly from a lady who's been doing this for generations.
Oh, cool.
So now she can keep the business. She can still, selling nice, good flour tortilla to everyone.
Yeah.
And she's safe because she have a restaurant like mine or some other restaurants of my friends that I convince them, okay, guys, let's go and buy the tortilla and purchase the tortillas from this lady so she can, stay with the business. So same thing with the mole, same thing with that's going to be more complicated to explain, but the recados, it's paste from the southeast of Mexico that are not used to make sauces. It's used to marinate. And with that marination, for example, la cochinita pibil, it's very famous. Okay, it's made with the red recado. So I bring the red recado, the original one, with a black recado and a white recado. And I use these three elements to condiment some of my proteins.
Wow.
Vegetables or animals. And that brings some other flavors, but true flavors. If you bring it from the source, then you are actually being sustainable. Because you're paying the right price to preserve the tradition, the true tradition. I think the chefs were not here to take over the world and I do my cheese, I do my... Yes, maybe you can do it. But what about the culture of the place? What about these people, right? They born and raised doing it. Right. You cannot compete with that. Like, it's better if you respect them and then you pay the right price to them. Let's keep it do it what they know better how to do it. Yeah. Without preservatives, doing in the right way. You help them. You are presenting something to the public, true, authentic,
Yeah.
and they're gonna love it.
Yeah.
Right. And I do it and I present it with quail
Mm.
because the quail is native from South Baja.
Is it really?
Yes, it is. And there's a lot. Every mountain. If you're a golfer, if you go to the course, you will see the quails, in the edges. You will see it, just like the road runners and a lot of different animals, the deers and everything. It's all around. And there's local. They're not bring it from the Spanish or any other colonization.
Yeah.
They're here. So I take it and I present it. There's very unusual to see in a menu here and everywhere quail. It's not very frequent to find it. So I think it's the best way to honor this amazing mole when a very special and not very frequent to find in the menu. And you need to know exactly how to cook it and put it in the plate so that people can enjoy it and not spoil it together.
Edgar, a lot of our clients and friends say over the years, the food in Los Cabos has matured and is really one of the premier places, not just in Mexico, but internationally speaking. And so Don Sanchez is one great example of that. But we are located in San Jose, the art district, the historic area. There are many restaurants in the area. And recently, you started an association of sorts of the restaurants. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. Well, we start as a restaurateurs. Right now, there's a lot of chefs, and I mean a lot of chefs that we're taking over the restaurants. After we being employees in some other companies, we decided to came to San Jose, not to Cabo, to San Jose specifically, and put our own business to do what we want and to present our art, to our gastronomical art. Example is Sage's, Lumbre, and Don Sanchez, or Simaruba. And there's different nationalities of chefs and people, but we're doing with passion. So we get together and we develop something called Sabores of San Jose, flavors from San Jose. And it's a proposal to get together all these restaurants to offer something special for the locals on Tuesdays. Because Thursdays, yes, we still love it Thursdays. But as a local, I have my business here. But if I don't have it here and I want to come to San Jose, I think I will never come on a Thursday.
It's so busy.
It's so busy.
Right.
So I left that for the tourists. For the people that probably, we don't know if they're going to come back. And of course, it's the day that they want to go to San Jose and see how pretty it is and enjoy maybe one beer here, one drink there, and then stay in another place to have dinner. But for locals, there's less and less options, right? So we decide to put on Tuesdays, it's, early night, but it could be a day night or dinner with friends. Yes, of course, not too heavy, just to go next day to work, but have something different, something nice in a not crowded town. And we're doing a special tasting menus in a very nice pricing for all of them. So if you're a local and you already are a resident of South Baja, especially Cabo, you can come down to San Jose on a Tuesday and enjoy these menus from at least 50 restaurants here.
How do you know which restaurants participate in that with that special tasting menu?
We're working on that. Actually, we're closing everything to throw to the world. Well, we already have the Instagram page, but we're constructing, in a good way with all the restaurants, with all the menus and all the proposal. We're expecting to have that in the first days of February. So you can, go directly to Sabores San Jose and in Instagram, and then you can go to the web page. It's going to take us a little bit longer to the web page, to construction, maybe 3 more months. But for the Instagram, I think it's going to be ready more than perfect in February, middle of February.
And is this the plan for this to be year-round or just seasonal?
No, well, it's going to take for the season. It's always to start in October and ends up around June.
Okay.
July.
Yep.
Why? Because it's hot. and everybody knows about that.
Right.
A lot of restaurants, we close in normally August and September.
Right.
Maybe we stay open in July. So we're going to have it for that season and then start over in October.
Okay.
Because, all the locals travel.
Yeah.
We need to go out
Right.
and enjoy also. And because the rest of the year, we're very busy. Thank God. You're doing what we do, right? You selling houses and then me attending people here at the restaurant.
Well, Edgar, thank you very much. Thanks for giving some insight in the food scene here in Los Cabos, specifically in San Jose. Thanks for inviting me and the team to Don Sanchez.
Thank you.
Talk a little bit about the Sabor San Jose. And everyone, if you're interested in getting a good meal, Don Sanchez, located in the Art District. It is a true gem, and it's open every day.
Yes.
For dinner. And they have that special tasting menu on Tuesdays from October to June. And we're right now in the wine cellar.
In my wine cellar, exactly.
And so this is a table normally is set up, and can people dine in here?
Of course. I only ask to have, we have a special tasting menu.
Yeah.
It's not the regular of the Tuesdays. It's a nice tasting menu from all the specialties from Don Sanchez. And some new things and the freshest things and the specials. And it goes, of course, with wine, with Mexican prime wine pairing.
Awesome. Well,
so, yes.
And stop on by. Say hi to Edgar. Have a glass of wine. Enjoy a great meal. And until the next one, bye for now.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Nick Fong Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and the YouTube channel at youtube.com/Ronaval Real Estate and follow Nick on Instagram at NickFong_Ronaval. Ready to find your Baja dream home? Check out the latest property listings at Ronaval.com or findmexicohouses.com. Hasta luego.